Hello everyone, and welcome back to Toku Toy Theory, where I take a look at toys from various tokusatsu series and try to figure out why they look and act the way they do. In this episode, I'll be covering Kamen Gridon and Kamen Kurokage, as well as their individual forms. Now, in the end of the previous video, I said I'd also be covering Kamen Zangetsu in this video, but upon some further thinking, I changed my mind and decided that I would save him for a later episode and use him in a different way, or look at him in a different way. So, without further ado, let's get started. First off, we'll look at Kamen Gridon and his base suit. So he's primarily brown and silver in color, has a very simple helmet design, with a crossguard that goes down between his eyes, as well as a couple of sweeping side panels. As far as the rest of his body goes, he shares the same body type as Kamen Baron. But the one key difference is that there's no pattern on the gauntlets or thigh armor. And that's because he's a lower ranked rider who's weaker in power. As far as the design goes, the patterns for the riders seem to be reserved for the higher ranked ones. This was reflected in his faceplate, which does show the profile of his helmet, but has no pattern in the remaining space. Next, we'll look at the Dongri lock seed and Dongri armor part. So here we have the two, and since Dongri means acorn, they're both based off an acorn. This goes into more about the whole thing of him being low ranked, as the lower ranked riders, instead of having fruits, have other plant byproducts that also contain seeds. In this case, the acorn being the nut of an oak tree, so it has seeds of an oak tree as well. They are pretty similar in design, but the layering is a bit different, with the Dongri lock seed having a pale green top, a metallic gold ring, and then a brown bottom, whereas the Dongri armor part just has a metallic gold top and then a brown bottom. But they are pretty similar in design. Going along with how Gridon is also another medieval themed rider, he also has a medieval sounding flair. So here we have Kamen Gridon Dongri arms, and here's where we really get into the theming of this rider. As with all of the riders in the series that just had one set of arms and no arms changes, their base forms, or base suits, and their arms were designed to go along together and had the same theme. In the case of Gridon, he's based on a medieval soldier, specifically an infantryman. You can see he has very simple looking armor that's very rounded, especially in terms of the helmet and the shoulder pads. He also has this very simple chest plate, which has a design that resembles a shield. It definitely is a medieval looking shield design. He also carries a war mallet called the Donkachi, which is designed with a hammerhead in the shape of an acorn and then a simple black handle. And if you look at it, you can also see that the way it's designed also resembles the crossguard on his helmet, which is a nice little touch. And this also does make some sense, as within medieval times, the infantrymen were usually commoners or peasants, who are more used to using tools like a hammer than weapons like a sword or shield. And there's also some significance to this within the series itself, especially in terms of his design and his body type, as obviously the infantrymen were led by knights during wars, and within the series for a short amount of time, Gridon was serving under Conrad Baron, who is of course themed after a knight. Next we have Kamen Kurokage and his base suit. Like with Gridon, he has a very simple head design. having a silver forehead protector, a simple mouthpiece, and then a little chin strap, or part under his chin that resembles tied ropes. That'll make more sense when he's equipped with his arms. Body-wise, he shares the same base body as Conrad, though once again it's a simplified version. The feathery parts on the shoulders are not colored at all, and he also doesn't have any kind of pattern on his forearms or thighs, which makes for a very basic looking suit design. Once again, this is reflected in the faceplate, which just has the outline or profile view of his helmet, and no pattern for the rest of the space. Next we have the Matsubokkuri lock seed and the Matsubokkuri armor part. Now, since Matsubokkuri means pinecone in Japanese, these are obviously based on pine cones. In this case, while not like the Dongri lock seed, still something that produces seeds for a tree. In this case, pine cones obviously produce seeds for pine trees. And while they are definitely based on the same thing, the way they're stylized is quite different, with the Matsubokkuri lock seed having this more scaly look to it, with this metallic light brown color. The Matsubokkuri armor part is much more similar to an actual pine cone, with this small stem up here, and then this very much layered look to it, where you can see all the different little protrusions. And being another Japanese-themed rider, the flare for the Matsubokkuri lock seed is also in a Japanese style. And here we have Conrad Kurokage, Matsubokkuri arms. Once again, it's with the arms on that we can really get a sense for this rider's theme and what it's based on. In this case, Kurokage is based on Ashigaru, which was a type of Japanese foot soldier that served under samurai in feudal Japan. Starting off with the helmet, we can definitely get a sense for it in terms of design, especially in terms of the way it looks. It has this kind of a cone shape to it, as well as being combined with these ropes under the chin. And that actually is pretty accurate, as instead of wearing proper helmets, Ashigaru wore these kind of cone-shaped hats called jingasa that were tied to be held on with ropes under the chin. So this is represented pretty accurately here. Then you have this more layered armor that kind of wraps around the shoulders, as well as draping down the front of the body. And this is also pretty accurate to Ashigaru. The third thing is that his weapon, the Kagematsu, is a yari, or a type of Japanese spear. And it definitely is pretty accurate in terms of design, though there isn't too much about it that says pinecone, except for this part here connecting the handle and the blade. But the way it's used is definitely pretty efficient, and it's another armor design that works. And once again, within the show there is some significance to Kurokage being based on the type of foot soldier, because later on in the series, Kurokage's data was used to create the Kurokage Troopers, who were foot soldiers who served under the Yggdrasil Corporation, one of whose riders was Zangetsu, who is technically samurai based. I'll get more into him when I get to his video. But again, this does create more parallels to actual history. And it really shows that there is some thought put into the writer's designs and how they're used. And there we go. So as we look at more writers in the series, we can see more of the complexities. In the case of these two, what they reveal is something of a hierarchy amongst the writers, with the higher ranked riders having special designs on their armor, having lock seeds based on fruits, and being based in general on the types of soldiers that led armies throughout history in different countries. Whereas the lower ranked riders like these two don't have those special patterns, instead have lock seeds that are based on different kind of tree offspring or byproducts, and instead are based on the common soldiers. And this definitely helps create a sense of warring factions and different armies, and helps with the series creating parallels to, or rather helps the series to create parallels to the Sengoku or Warring States period of Japan, which was a big theme in Gaim. And it also shows you how much thought was put into the way these riders were designed and the way they were used, with the riders based on the common soldiers either serving under the high-ranked riders or being used as general foot soldiers. And really does show you how much thought and effort was put into the planning of the series, and it actually is very impressive. So I hope to see more of that as we look at more of the riders in this series. So, next time, I'll be doing an unboxing of Yokai Dream Metal 1 packs. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and or subscribe, and you can check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/krix50. And for now, this is krix50, riding off.